What's happening, YouTube? All right, we'll wait a minute, see if anybody comes up in here. What's up, Alaska Trucker? What's happening? Southbound, what's going on? Red Diesel, CB, LR Logistics, PJ, what's happening? My name is Nobody. Good afternoon. So, let's talk about a tool that will help you in this environment. 123 Load Board offers this tool. It's an extra charge on the subscription. But even with that charge, with the code this channel gives you, is way superior, lower than the DAT. And we're going to show you why drivers keep taking the lower rates. Is because they're on this DAT board and they're looking at the 15-day average. Well, 15-day average means nothing. What is today? What's the rates today? Not 15 days ago, not 7 days ago, but as of like yesterday. And if you're sitting there looking at those averages and that's what you're going by, then you're leaving more money in the broker's pockets. That's just the way it is. They're not going to give you the rate. They're going to give you the rate that the DAT's saying, right? They're going by that average way back because they know almost all the owner-operators are going by that because they have nothing else to go by unless they use their own software, which most of them don't. And that goes back to using the right tools for the trade. What's up, Speed Shifter? What's going on? We'll throw some people's comments up here. Yeah, we're back. We're back, Jerry. We've been really busy. It's busy growing a company. We've had 3 more contractors come on. We got a couple more in the works. So yeah, it's been busy. Let me go look at some questions over here and we'll get to the board. All right, so let's show you what I'm talking about. Here's the 123 load board. And what we're talking about is cargo chief. Right? This is what we're talking about. This is what the actual negotiated rate cons are as of up to date. So here's an example. If you're on the DAT, here's the DAT. And let's take a look at this load right here. Let's say you're looking at this load. Allen Park, Michigan to Atlanta. You're looking at a Michigan to Georgia freight lane, which would be the same thing as a Toledo area up there. It's in that lane, right? And we look at the 15-day average that DAT has here. It says $1,531. Offer is $1,300. That is below the national average, right? But let's go over and look at cargo chief of actual negotiated rate cons on this lane. And let me go and bring that screen up for you. And here it is. And if you see what cargo chief is, it says, the market rate estimates are based on the highest, middle, and lowest rates gathered from actual freight bills rather than quoted prices. So this is not quoted prices. This is the actual deal. Now, if we look at that lane, Finley out of Douglas, same thing as the DAT with the Allen Park, which is Detroit. They're pretty close to each other. They're showing 1,906 is right in the middle, 233 a mile. 2 grand's the highest, 17. So 1,300 is disgusting, right? It's disgusting. Because this is the actual negotiated rate for that lane. Now, we could go up here and say, let's look at Michigan, Dowagiac to Thomasville. Bring this up. If you look at rate checks, right there, $1.87. But the actual negotiated on these is $2.54, $23.69 the average. Even if it was the lowest, $21.65, is still more than $1,300 because they're using old data. Old data. So, if you want this tool, then everybody knows you can go to 123 Load Board, sign up, and everybody knows my code. And I believe it's an extra $20 a month for that, but we'll scroll it across the bottom of the screen. But this is a great tool, and it gives you a lot better negotiating ability. Because if you're going off of old data, how are you supposed to do anything on old data? 2 weeks ago, that's the past, folks. That's not as of like yesterday. So if you're always looking in the past, you're always leaving lots of money on the table, and you're not getting the right negotiation. And this is one thing here. Cargo chief, right? 2369. The actual negotiated was $254 a mile on that run. That's what they don't want you to see. Right? The brokers do not want you to see this, folks, right here. They don't want you to see that. That's what they don't want you to see, the cargo chief. I mean, you can see rate check, green screens, all these give you, averages, but these are actually negotiated rate cons. So this gives you a better outlook of the lane that you want to run. So if I go to Warren, Ohio, to Carrollton, Georgia, you're going to see that they're at $1.74 a mile, which is a couple weeks ago. The rate check's at $1.91, but if you look at cargo chief, it's really around $2.10 a mile is the average. You got a high of 1,700, a low of 1,400. The middle's 1,563 on actual negotiated rates. What's going on, Rich Taco? Welcome. Donald Ryder, welcome. Speed Shifter, welcome. My thoughts on credit is king. Well, cash is king. Credit is second to cash. Because you can have all the credit in the world, but if you don't have the cash to pay the credit does you nothing. Because it'll get you into bankruptcy, is what credit will do. Credit's nice to have, and everybody should have it, but it shouldn't be the main source. You need the money to back up the credit. So another good thing is to have a software program to run your business. That way you know exactly what's going on. So we use AXISTMS, Trucking Office. Those are the two programs. That's the ones I've used forever. And those programs are great. And if you want to use those also, as always, down in the description of most of my videos, you will see discounts for those programs. If you want more integration, fuel cards and things like that, then Axis is the way to go with that. And single owner operator, and you don't need all the integration, you can always go with Trucking Office. Both programs are good. They both accomplish the goal. Yeah, well, Utah, everybody runs their own business the way they want to run their business, right? But like I said, it's nice to have a lot of credit because credit can help you out and get you through rough times, right? It can. But if you don't have the money to back up the credit, and let's say the trucking industry doesn't come back for a while, right? Let's say the rates stay low, doesn't come back for a while, and you're running below your operating cost. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of credit. And if you're not making the cash to pay the credit, what happens? So, I don't overextend my credit. So if I use credit, I usually pay it off the same month and keep the credit wide open. But that comes to another thing. Use a factoring company, right? And I know a lot of people talk about other factoring companies, but everybody knows my factoring company is Thunder Funding, and the best factoring company in the business. I don't care what anybody says. Hands down. Best customer service. They have everybody in there knows this business. You go to a bank, you're going to get a bank. That's all you're going to get. You're going to get people that know zero about the trucking industry. They know about the banking industry and how many fees. They're feed up. They know how to charge it because they're a bank. But you get the right factory company with the right fuel card, because those banks don't have fuel cards. They're just a bank. They don't care about the other part. That's not their gig, right? But at Thunder Funding, we got a great fuel card. And call Scott or Willie up there, or Evan. Call Evan, tell him I sent you. We'll get you a good rate, and you'll get a little bit of money, and I'll get a little bit of money on the side too. You know, you get a sign-on bonus, right? So, nothing wrong about getting a sign-on bonus. And if you don't want to use my name and channel, then don't use it. No big deal. What's up, Stuart? Will Burner, good afternoon. Stuart, Speed Shifter. Who else came up in here? I think I said Donald. Yeah. So that's how to combat this market. And two, you have to know your running cost. And we're not talking this per mile, cost per mile, right? We're not talking about that. A lot of people say, well, I need $250 a mile. On what? 5,000 miles, 8,000 miles, 10,000 miles? And they sit around for days and not haul a load? Yeah, it's not 10,000 miles no more, people. It's 12 or 14,000. You can't do that. So that's why people get in trouble in this business, because they have that old mentality, and I see it all over YouTube. And they talk about cheap freight. There is no such thing as cheap freight. And you can put all the comments you want, and I'll ignore them, because that's the truth. You got to treat this business like a business, because it is a business. And if you're not treating it as a business, you're treating it as a driver with the mentality that I'm not hauling cheap freight, because in the mind of those individuals is $2.50, $3 a mile, anything under that's cheap freight. Well, they're the ones that don't do so well, because they don't treat it like a business. And I'm just telling it like it is. If you don't like it, unsubscribe and don't watch. It's that simple. And if you are watching and you don't comment and you want to make videos and say whatever you want about this channel, just shows how dumb you are. Just saying. So anyway, if you used cost per day, I've been preaching that forever on this channel. Every business has a daily cost. I don't care if people say, well, I have a paid off truck. That's why I don't have to run. I don't have to run this, lower freight and all this. You still have a daily cost. So your business is losing money because it doesn't matter if that truck's paid off. You have a daily cost. And if that truck is your source of income, you do have a truck payment, my friends. You do. It's called breakdown repairs. You just don't know when that truck payment's going to hit, and you just don't know how much that truck payment will be. For example, if you're rolling down the road one day and your engine goes out and you end up with a $50,000 engine rebuild, well, guess what? Your truck payment just for that year cost you $4,000 a month for 12 months. 48 grand. Just shy of 50, but it's just to prove a point. Now you've had a truck payment because there you go. It's a yearly cost. So every business has a daily cost. You take all your insurances, everything, add them all up. If you don't have a truck payment, guess what you do? You have maintenance, and that's a truck payment. So if you're paying $30,000 a year in maintenance, well, guess what? Let's say $24,000 a year. Your truck payment's $2,000 a month. So if you take all those yearly costs up and divide it by 365, there's your daily cost for your business. And every day the truck doesn't run, that's what you got to pay and comes out of your pocket. So if you know your daily cost, doesn't matter what the fuel does. It doesn't matter what the rates are. Because if you treat it like a real business with daily cost, then that opens up the whole load board for you. Right? Because here's what happens. Here's what happens, folks. If you have the mindset, and it's all mindset, because everybody's got the skill to drive the truck, or else you wouldn't have the truck. But not everybody has the mindset. So if you're thinking, I'm not hauling unless it's 250 mile or above, and you sit there for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, like down in Florida, or over in Colorado, or over in California, or wherever, and you're sitting there for days, well, you're accumulating daily cost. You're going in the hole. Because you got this mindset that you're not hauling for less than 250 a mile. Now, if you took that mindset away and looked at the whole load board and said, my daily cost is $350 a day or $400 a day after fuel. I need to net $400 a day to cover everything. Home, business, all of it. It's my daily cost. And let's say there's $1.80 a mile on there. You would never, ever take it. But you do the math. And if you use 1, 2, 3 load board on their profit calculator, you'll see it. And then you can see your daily cost. And you'll say, wow, I can take that load, get the heck out of here, and still make money. And be profitable. To where before, you would never, ever do that. What's up, Bullowoods? Jerome Jones, afternoon. Dream Receipt, what's going on? Speed Shifter, cost revenue per day, help me to pay off my truck. Thank you. Well, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. You don't have to do that, but, we appreciate it. Cost revenue per day, right, Speed Shifter? That is the only way to make this business work in your favor. Yes, can you say I'm not going to haul less than $250 a mile? Sure, as long as you don't have no home expenses and anything else, and you have low truck payments and all that, and you make yourself feel good. Oh, I didn't run for less than $250 a mile. Well, that's nice. But did you actually profit as much as you could profit out of your business from just sitting around? You got to think about that. Right, Rich Taco. Cost per day does work. And that's what I help our contractors here that like trucking, I help them with that. Because a lot of them, had the old mindset. Some of them did. And I sat there and said, look, this is your actual cost. You could run just about any load on the board and make money. So instead of sitting for a week and making no money, you could run any load on the board and been thousands of dollars ahead. Thousands. And cost per day is the only one that works. Because with rate per mile, cost per mile, whatever you're going to call it, there are way too many variables. Way too many. And if anybody thinks that it doesn't work, go ahead and put it in the comments. Because obviously, you don't know how to figure the cost per day. Now, I've had some people tell me their cost per day was a lot of money. I said, okay, well, let's go over it. Went over it, and it was half of what they thought it was. And I said, you can haul any of this stuff and make the money. For example, we could take a look at a couple loads here just to show you. Because people say, well, I can't haul for that. I won't haul for that. Well, then go out of business. Because we don't know when these exact freights will go up. And look, there's a lot of channels out there, and there's people out there that, talk about your capacities and all that. And all this is old data. It's old data. And no one can predict anything in this business. No one can predict what the rates are going to be next week. They have data. Where are they getting the data? Is it skewed data? But boy, people will really, go by these so-called places that will want a lot of money for you to access that data, which that data is going to do you absolutely no good. Zero. It's not going to increase your revenue, especially for what the price you pay for it. When you can come to, let's say, 1, 2, 3 load board and get the real data, the cargo chief data from actual rate cons that were negotiated on, that's a better perspective. Because that's good as yesterday. That's what's happening now, not back then. Midlife says, cost per day increases any day that the driver sits waiting for load. Well, exactly, and that's why you don't sit. Because there's always a load that you can haul. There's always a load. So let's take, for example, a guy has a used truck, he's got his insurance, got everything, got his home expenses, and let's say his daily cost for his business is $300 a day after fuel. $300 a day. So let me bring up, here's the 1, 2, 3 load board. All right. So let's say we have this driver that has the mindset that I cannot haul for less than $2 a mile. I will not haul it. So he would never see this load from Curse Transportation. That's got $1,300 in here. If we go to the profit calculator, right here it is. And let's say he has a newer truck, and let's say he only gets 8 miles to the gallon. So we'll do that. And then let's say he pays with the discount, the 40 cents from the fuel card. And it's a lot more than that in some places. It ranges all the way up to over $1. Depends where you go. But we're going to use their standard 40 cents here that is in here. And you can put whatever it is. Right? So if you go to the TA and you're getting $1 off, you put $1 here. Okay? Now we know this load picks up today and it's 748 miles. So let's say it's a day and a half run, but let's say it's a 2-day run. and his cost is $300 a day. His total profit is $686. Take 2 days, 300 and 300, that's 600. He still has $86.85 profit above and beyond what he needs for his house and his business. Pure profit. But yet he wouldn't look at it because it's not $2 a mile. It was $1.74. He wouldn't even look at it. But yet he could have ran it, and instead he sits there all day like this, and a lot of people know who we're talking about. They got a closed load board, and that's what they teach these guys. And so they won't run that load because those are the hardest individuals to teach them cost per day. But see, that individual could have ran that load, and instead he sits all day and does nothing and waits for tomorrow. And then what's that do? It messes with your mind because now you're not making money. You got bills coming in. And then the second day, if you don't do nothing again, that really messes with your mind. But, you know, what they don't understand is they end up with a $2 a mile load and they feel great, but they need a lot more than $2 a mile. Why? Because they sat for 2 days. And they're not including that in their calculation because that $2 a mile only comes if you use cost per mile. And it's only as good as whatever miles you're figuring it on. 10,000 miles a month? 8,000? What is it? And if you're sitting those days, you're sure not going to make your miles. Not going to do it. What's up, Just Trucking for Life? What's going on? Weaver says, I'm an owner operator for about 5 years. I was fortunate to have a very smart man explain the difference between the trucking business and the business of trucking. Cost per day is part of something. Couldn't finish it all. And we had to pay me to sit that day, right? But there you go. You know, that's the key. You got to have the right mindset. And as you can see, a gentleman could haul that load. Let's find another load. I'm gonna go in here, click on this, and go Worcester, Ohio to anywhere. And here's one out to California. Let's take a look at this thing, just to look at it and get some laughs, you know. This is $1.38 a mile. And let's say the guy had his own authority, and he's looking at this load. And we come down here, it's $1,443. Let's see what else we got. It's 2,472 miles. Okay? So we all can figure it takes 4 days to run that load, right? Can we agree? It takes 4 days. You're going to deliver on the 5th day. Yes, you could probably do it in 3.5 if you got a fast truck, 75 mile an hour and all that good stuff. But let's say 4 days. You spend 4 days on load, unload the 5th day, and then you're going to reload and get out of there because you're not going to sit. Now, my question to you guys is, see if you know the deal. No one will run that, right? Because that's cheap freight. No one will run that. His cost is $300 a day net. Could he run that load and make money? Yes or no? If you had, let's say he had wanted to go out there, he had to get out there, but you know it's not $2 a mile, so he's not even going to look at it. Could he take that $1.38 all the way to California and still be profitable? Yes or no? Let's see if you guys been watching the Truckers Education Network and have the right mindset. And I've already gave you half the formula, right? He needs $300 a net after fuel per day. 4 days. Can he run that load to pay us all of his truck expenses, house expenses, and still have some profit left over? Trucker Bill at $350 a day. Could you do that? It takes you 4 days. Yes or no? And still make money. Still be profitable. Well, I gave you the cost per day. His cost per day is $300, but we'll use Trucker Bill here. Trucker Bill is $350 a day. 4 days. Can he run that load? Here, let me come up here so you can see the profit. There's the profit. Fuel and everything's out of it. The 20% dispatch fee is out of here. So if he was on an 80-20, if he was with an 80-20, could he run it? Yes, he could, wheel burner. He absolutely could run it and make money at $1.38. Because look, his total profit's $1,443. It's $350 a day. 4 days is $1,400. He's $43.41 about more than he needs. But if he has his own authority, it's $21.24 is what he would make. So you take 350 times, so it's $1,400. He's $700 more than what he needs. $700 more than what he needs to stay profitable. And jaywalk, we don't care, right? Here's the problem everybody has. Third world wages, though. Okay? That's just one load. It's the mindset. It's a business. So in other words, McDonald's and all the restaurants in the world should close their doors from 1 in the afternoon until 5 p.m. And if you're hungry, too bad. We have no burgers to give you. Why? Because between 1 and 5, they make hardly no money. They're going broke. They're going in the hole. Because there's not enough people there to justify all the people working in the back, all the waitresses, and the electricity to keep the place open. But yet they keep the place open. Why? Because they know what their business cost per day. Just saying, it's a mindset. And that's why a lot of people do not make it in this industry, is because they don't have the right mindset. It's just the way it is. Right, Trucker Bill. If you have relationships, that's great. We have relationships with a lot of brokers, and they call all day long and ask us, hey, we have any trucks? We have any trucks? And a lot of our contractors have relationships with certain brokers, and that's all they use. And they keep them running, and they're happy. But this shows you they're trying to pawn this off at $1.38. And if you go to Cargo Chief, the estimate is $2 per mile. $43.51 is the lowest rate. Cons coming in $54.20 is the highest, and the middle is $48.86, which is a lot higher than the $34.05. But if you look at 2 weeks ago, that's the rate. So if you're on DAT, on a 15-day average, and you're looking, that's about the rate. Southbound, you're not getting it. You're not getting it, my friend. You add all that stuff in. You come up with a daily rate for your business. For example, if you have a paid off truck and you say, okay, I'm going to save 24 grand a year for maintenance, breakdowns and everything, you figure 24 grand. Some people figure higher. That's $2,000 a month, so you still have a truck payment, but anyway, 24 grand. You put that in there. You add up all your house expenses. You put that in there. Your insurance, add all that in there. Divide it by 365, you got a daily rate to operate that business. because those numbers don't go away just because you sit home for a day or two or three. That's your daily rate. So, for example, if Trucker Bill took this, on that 5th day he's delivering, he's got $700 more than what he needed to cover everything that he has figured in there, which is 2 more days, Friday and Saturday. He picks up Friday and goes back with a lot better load. Because everybody knows the loads coming to California going back pay a lot more than going in. So, at the end of that next week, he could be $2,100 to $3,000 in his pocket above and beyond. To where the other guy could still be sitting there for 3 or 4 days looking for that $2 or $2.50 a mile, whatever they think they need to run their business. Like I said, that's too much, too many variables. How do you know you're going to get the miles? You know you can work every day. There's loads on the board every single day. You can work every day. Just change the mindset and run. Of course you try to get the highest, right? I ain't saying haul the cheap stuff. I'm saying run the best loads you can, but if those loads aren't available, then you can still move the truck and be profitable for that day, because there's always another day to make more and more money. The key to success is to keep the wheels rolling when you're on the road. That's the key to success. The guys and gals that are out there at the truck stop and sitting there for days because they're not getting what they consider they need per mile, those are the ones that don't have the key. They're outside looking in, and they're wondering why their credit cards are going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher until they're hurting, because now the interest rates are higher and higher, so their minimum payment on their credit card is doubled or tripled. Now they have even more expenses. Why? Because they won't move the truck, because they think in their mind a certain number is cheap freight. That's why I say there's no cheap freight, because what's cheap to you might not be cheap to me. It might not be cheap to this trucking life. It might not be cheap to Stewart. It might be cheap to Wheelburner. You know, everybody has their own mind on what they consider cheap freight is. I don't even look at that word, cheap freight. I run the business on cost per day. And that's what I ran it on when I was driving down the road. It was cost per day. And I was always profitable rolling that truck down the road because I knew exactly what I needed. Suspected spam. Let's see who it is. Like Trucking's Jeff. All right, it's spam. So anyway, what else we got going on here? 250 days, Monday through Friday, and a 2-week vacation. Divide by 280 days at most. We don't work 365. Exactly. You could do it however many you think you're going to run to get that daily cost. But still, it all averages out, right? It's 365 days. Your business always has a daily cost. But if you divide it by 250 or 280 and you meet that cost or above, you cover yourself for the whole year, right? Because you're crunching the whole year's numbers into 280 days. So it works. And a lot of times you're going to haul and make more money than that daily cost. And that just adds up and adds up. So just in case you don't do 280 and you do 250, you might have done enough money to where you only had to do 200. But see, the guys that do it per mile can never gain the miles back when they sit those many days. They can never get those miles back. Especially if they have a load cancel and it's a Friday night and they can't get nothing until Monday. Ooh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts, don't it? But you run it by cost per day, 99% of the time you're going to make more than what you need per day. Yes, you can take stuff that pays you less, because if you've made that week $1,500 more than what you needed, and you need, let's say, $400, and you take a load that's only going to profit $300, guess what? You didn't lose your $400. You only lost $100, but you have $1,400 of the good. So you can roll that day, and you're still a win. You're adding money to the business. A little profit is better than no profit. I think there's a lot of more factors that are being left out as example, but ultimately Jeff is right on every load would be knocking it out of the park with rates. Sometimes it's better to run for a little profit. Right. You can put in everything. So if you got taxes and all that, you can figure all that in there. And I go in even further than that when I teach business. My philosophy is this. If you need an accountant, maybe you don't need to be in the business. Just saying. If you need somebody else to run a program for you to let you know what's going on, maybe you don't need to be in the business. Because if you're outsourcing all these numbers and all these things, you really don't know what the business is doing. All you're doing is driving the truck. You should know every aspect of the business. Even taxes. You can do your own corporate taxes. They're not hard. Same thing with your personal taxes. Your Schedule C's, however you got it. If you're a sole proprietor and you Schedule C it, it's easy. Just get a tax program. TurboTax, H&R Block tax cut, whatever it is. Get into those programs. You want to know what depreciation is on a semi-truck? Look it up. Go to publication 583, I believe it is. Go there. I don't know, page 30 something, 34, 38, I don't know. It's 3 years anyway, because it's called a tractor, not a truck. So read it. Read the publications that pertain to you and your business. It's not that hard. It just takes a little reading, that's all. And then you know where your business stands at all times. Use a program. You know, if you're good at spreadsheets, you can make your own spreadsheets. And if you're not, run a program like AXISTMS or Trucking Office. Run something like that. But don't have somebody else do it for you. Run it yourself. That way you know exactly where you're at. So at 9 o'clock at night, you want to see where you're at, you can pull it up and see where you're at. And if you do your own taxes and you have the tax program, you take the last year's program, you zero out all the numbers except for your depreciation, you go into that schedule and you take it back 1 year because now you're on the next year, right? Take it back 1 year, you know exactly what your depreciation is, you know exactly what your insurance is for the year. You keep all that in there so you know, hey, right out the bat, I'm 80 grand in the hole. At the end of the quarter, put in how much revenue you made, put in your fuel costs and in your repairs, and let's say you're still 50 in the hole. You go to the next quarter, you ain't got to pay quarterly taxes in. Why? Because you didn't make nothing yet. Go to the 6-month mark, if you're still in the hole, you don't got to pay no quarterly tax yet. You're not in the black, you're still in the red. Into the third quarter, you start showing a little bit of profit. Then you can start paying something in. Why give your money to the government, and then all of a sudden, here's where people get in trouble. They use these accounting places. They say, oh, you got to send in, 10 grand. First quarter. Second quarter, send in 5 grand. So you got 15 grand in there. Third quarter, send another 5. You got 20 grand in there. 6 days later, after they took your money, your one box goes out. You need 18 grand. You don't have it. Why? Because they got 15 grand of your money. But if you would have kept your money, you could take the 18 grand, pay that. And you won't have it on your credit card now, will you? And it comes off your pay, so you don't have to pay taxes. All right. I got to get going. I got things to do. I got errands to run. Thanks for watching, and we'll bring this up again. We'll see you. Remember, 123 load board. If you want to see those negotiated rate cons, Cargo Chief, I think it's 20 more bucks add-on. 35 from this channel, 20 bucks for that'd be like 55. And Thunder Funding, go with them and get a great fuel card. We'll see you later.